You know, sometimes you make a few criticism videos only to get proven wrong immediately. Zenless' writing has been on a roll ever since 2.6. I really enjoyed both epilogues, but I've been waiting to make this video until 3.0 dropped because I wanted to see how they set it up before giving my take. The way they've been writing the proxy is a prime example of why I love them as a character. If you haven't seen my breakdown of Belle and Weiss as protagonists, you should, by the way, but Hoiverse basically addressed some of my biggest concerns with their writing, specifically the way they show the proxy's internal conflict and the way Hoyo shows their intelligence. The Phaethon siblings have been given more development in the past 3 patches than the last 2 seasons, especially in 3.0. Look, I'm a sucker for a character confronting their shadow. Bleach, Naruto, Persona, all peak in my book. What I liked about the epilogue was that the proxy's journey to find the truth was getting more dangerous, and it was putting their friends' lives in danger. We saw the damage that Pyros did to Billy, Cecilia, Promia, and even Eos. There's a small moment when the proxy expresses guilt and fear about something that happened in the past.
Back in the Hollow, I don't even know why, but I just had to touch it. That Void Hunter's weapon. And the moment I touched it, I think I blacked out, but I could feel it. Like I was back in that same state as before. Teacher, that incident I caused, it never really ended, did it?
In 3.0, we get even more context, and I love it. We get introduced to Truvia and Serpico, their classmates during their Helios Academy days. I looked up their names to see if there was any significance, but I couldn't find anything useful. Truvia is a sweetener substitute, and Serpico is a movie about a cop from the 70s, so I don't know yet. They also have the same implants that Belle and Weiss have. But it gets even better. There was a test they had to perform for Carol Arna. The proxy lost control, Serpico died, and Truvia distanced herself from them. Something that makes this more than just an unfortunate situation was that the cause of this accident was because of the proxy. The tragedy of Helios Academy happened because of the proxy's ambition. The proxy wanted to make Carol Arna proud and be the one to fulfill Helios' goals, but they weren't ready.
It was me, thinking I could make our teacher proud. It was me who thought I could fulfill Helios' ambition. It was me who believed I could reach out and grasp the sun with these hands. But in the end, these hands couldn't even hold your reins.
Now, there are 2 things I want to note. I love how Hoiverse references the myth of Phaethon in this dialogue. It's a little on the nose, but it does work. I also appreciate that Belle and Weiss have this character flaw. It's true that Belle and Weiss have been ambitious, but because of how skilled they are, things usually work out for them. Finding out that they had failed in the past gives them a new dimension to their character. To make a character 3-dimensional, the writer needs to show off different sides of their personality. A character is like a gemstone. Good storytelling is able to reveal and highlight different sides and faces of a character. A character that's usually optimistic isn't going to be optimistic the entire time. We can see the complexity of a character when we see them react in different situations. We've seen the proxy be confident, smart, goofy, but now we see a new layer to them. They've been carrying this guilt and shame with them, but they've been ignoring it. This event was so traumatic that Phaethon suppressed it and the siblings don't even want to talk about it. The problem is that by suppressing this emotion, it manifests in other ways. For the proxy, it manifested as fear. They were afraid of losing control and hurting their friends again, so they restrained themselves. In a literal sense, it manifested as Pyrois. And as we saw in the epilogue, it's a problem the proxy can't ignore anymore. The sequence on 6th Street where we see the Pyros taking down the Cunning Hares, which, by the way, best faction confirmed, was unsettling. First off, standing ovation for the voice acting in this scene. Both Courtney Steele and Stephen Fu were incredible. The economy is down horrendous, and they had bills to pay. This also adds depth to Belle and Weiss' motivation. At their core, they want to fix the wrongs of the past. In Season 1, we learned that they want to learn the truth to redeem Carol Arna, and to prove her innocence. But now, there's something more. The Phaethon siblings want to correct their own mistakes. While this scene is great, I don't buy that the proxy was secretly hungry for power. I never got that interpretation based on how Belle and Weiss were written, so for me, this was a bit of a miss. I do think that getting Pyros was a little too fast. I have 2 opposing thoughts on this. The setup and the payoff was well done, but a scene or 2 of the siblings being faced with their past could have helped build it up even more and make the scene even more impactful. I also know that Belle and Weiss don't want to acknowledge it, and they had to essentially be forced to face their past. Pyros is not tame, but by facing it, they're beginning their journey to fix their mistakes. On one hand, getting Pyros did feel fast, But this is also the first step on a much longer character arc for Season 3. After gaining some control of Pyrois, the Proxy has the first honest conversation with their sibling about the past. Acknowledging the problem was the first step, and the playable main character is ready to take on that responsibility. But they're not going to do it alone. Their sibling is there to support them.
Let me carry this weight. The power, our past, all of it. I can do this. And I have to.
Then I'll carry it with you, regardless of what the future holds. Phaethon is a two-person deal. Besides, I've got a similar power dormant inside me. It hasn't awoken yet, but I share the same responsibility.
There are some times that the Proxy sibling gets sidelined, so I'm glad that they're more involved. The story isn't just about Belle or Wise individually, it's about Phaethon. So making sure that they both go through the struggle is important. I want to see more of this sibling dynamic. I am completely locked in on the Phaethon siblings as characters, and I can't wait to see more of their past and the consequences that they've been running from. 3.0 was a lot of telling us what happened, but now I want to see it for myself. It doesn't stop there because adding more depth to the Proxy wasn't the only good part about this quest. Hoyoverse also showed off the Proxy being clever again. In the climax of this chapter, the Proxy and Remielle fight against Bashmu and Giri Bulu. First off, sick designs. Zenless monster designs have never disappointed me. In my antagonist video, I mentioned that ethereals have started feeling less threatening because we fought so many of them and they don't feel dangerous anymore. Bashmu is the giant one that looks like Baron Nashor and it felt terrifying. The characters treated this ethereal like it was a threat. Remielle is a Void Hunter and she couldn't defeat it with strength alone, not even with Pyrois, so they had to find a better solution, and this is where the Proxy shines. In 3.0, we're introduced to singularity leakages. I'm not going to get into the specific mechanics, but they function like fissures. To escape from Bashmu, the Proxy had to manipulate ether and change its state, and essentially banish it away. They have an elite understanding of hollows and ether. The Proxy needed to figure out how it works and how to apply Yunquei summit techniques to pull it off. It's a strong character moment because the skill that they learned in the past didn't go to waste and it feels earned. It's a moment that shows why Phaethon is a legendary Proxy. I've said what makes Belle and Wise stand out is their intelligence, and this is what I mean. Yeah, they have Pyrois and it gave the Proxies more power, but their greatest strength is their smarts. If the Proxy didn't figure out how to manipulate singularities, Pyrois wouldn't have lent them more power. But it wasn't just this moment. There was a moment near the end where the Proxy tries to help Norma save Toby. It's a good reminder that the Proxy does have some knowledge on how Bangbu technology works, even if it isn't their specialty. But it also shows an interesting limitation of Fairy. Fairy is very good at performing technical tasks, but she needs time. Also, from a gameplay standpoint, I like how the Proxy hacks into cameras and uses that to control terminals. It's a fun mechanic to show how their hacking ability works. And yes, I am a little biased because it does remind me of Cyberpunk. I even pressed tab once because I thought the controls were the same. We even get to control Eos for some puzzles. This is basically what I wanted to see from the Zenless protagonists. In the epilogues in 3.0, they're shown to be smart, competent, have an interesting internal motivation, and they have a strong bond with each other. I genuinely cannot complain with Phaethon's writing direction. Now, I've been talking a lot about the Phaethon siblings, but there are more moments I want to talk about, both good and bad. Another concern I had was with Zenless' rotating cast. Because it's a gacha game, we're going to keep changing characters. The problem that I had was that a character is only relevant during their patch and we move on. Because of that, we don't spend enough time to develop their character or see them interact with other characters outside their factions. What I wanted was a core cast that we could spend more time with and see how they develop over time. Over the past few chapters, Cecilia and Billy have been traveling with us, and it looks like they're going to be staple characters in Season 3. Cecilia and Billy have gone from reluctant allies to being Zenless' funniest comedic duo.
Felina just said if the training room loses power, you guys might get locked in for a long time. There's practically nothing to eat or drink in there. I mean, we don't have to worry about Billy, but what if you starve to death?
I know I don't need you sweating over me, but did you really have to play favoritism so blatantly?
We also know that Promia is coming as part of Top's plan, and I can't wait to reunite with her. Her dynamic with Cecilia was one of my favorite moments in the epilogue. Cecilia went from being terrified of her to standing up to her and finally working with her. It's difficult to develop these character dynamics in just one patch. By having these three stick around, it feels like they matter in the story. They almost died trying to save the Proxy, and it hits harder because we spent a good amount of time with them. It also feels natural that they want to keep protecting the Proxy and make sure the treatment goes smoothly. In 3.0, they're given less screen time, but they aren't written out. Cecilia is still protective over the Proxy, and Billy volunteers to be our sparring partner. I especially loved how they planned to make a small video store booth for the proxy. It's a sweet moment and it shows how much they care about the proxy. I've also noticed how Zenless has been handling character backstory. In the epilogue, we only see Cecia's backstory and it wasn't melodramatic. It was there to show her connection to Remielle and to be used to show her character growth. With Billy, we don't get his backstory at all, and I think it works better that we don't see it. Billy is a character that wants to move on from his past. We hear the legends and his reputation from how he and the others talk about it. Leaving things up for interpretation can be more interesting than seeing something concrete. If we get introduced to characters from his past, then I think it would be more interesting to see a flashback. While Cecia and Billy have a backstory, Norma and Valina don't, and I'm honestly fine with that. Not every personal struggle has to come from childhood trauma. With Valina and Norma, their department is in charge of Bang Boo maintenance, but that also means they have to retire Bang Boo. Bang Boo retirement means that they lose their memories and are sent to live on New Eridu. Their struggle comes from the fact that they care about Bang Boo, but the nature of their job means that Bang Boo resent them for it. I'm satisfied with how they resolved it. To be honest with you, I'm still trying to figure out my problem with how Zenless uses tragic backstory. My belief is that giving a character a tragic backstory is not the same thing as good characterization or character development. A character can't be interesting just because they have a tragic backstory, they need something more. There's also been a lot of conversation about Zenless's urban aesthetic. I've thought about making my own video on it. Let me know if you want to hear my take on it. Regardless, the vibes in Roscaelifer are immaculate. There is a sense of grandness that I felt when we first entered the city. For the first time in a while, I felt excited to explore it. While I'm not entirely enthusiastic about Season 3's character designs, Zenless's world design has been consistently good. Compared to the humbler mountain town of Phaethon Heights, Roscaelifer is a bustling city with a population of mostly Bang Boo, and it's amazing. It's incredible seeing Bang Boo walk around the city and even singing. Zenless has also been trying to upgrade their visual presentation by having these sort of cutscenes. We've seen these back in Season 2 during the beach event, and while I'm not a fan of how stiff it is something I believe is worth exploring and improving on. My hope is that these scenes will have more expressive animation to match the voice performance and that the camera isn't as static. Also, the delay between voice lines is way too long sometimes. Realistically, it'll take some time before we see any big improvements. It honestly might take an entire season. But if the dev team works at it, then I could see the story being more visually engaging. Another small improvement is that the CGs aren't static anymore, they kind of move now. It's a small change, but it is better than looking at a completely still image. It's clear that the dev team is trying to improve the story presentation, even if it's currently rough and unpolished right now. But I can't forget one particular character, Remielle. Remielle has an interesting dynamic with the proxy. They have a contentious relationship with each other. Remielle is very coy and hiding a lot of information from the proxy. The proxy doesn't fully trust her and can see through her facade. So we get a lot of fun banter between the two. There aren't many characters that can get underneath the proxy skin. Usually they have some level of control over the situation, but with Remielle there's a bit more of a back and forth. There are times where the proxy just sounds completely done with her games.
This place is making my head spin.
Looks like I'm not the only one with no sense of direction.
I can find my way just fine. Don't let me in with you.
She's not working against the proxy, but she also isn't fully on their side. Remielle has her own goals that don't align with the proxies, but when they work together, they work really well together. It's a fun connection that we haven't seen much of. I can't wait for more scenes with her. I'm feeling more comfortable with Zenless' writing direction. With how much improvement there was over the last 3 chapters, it tells me that the writing team does understand some of the mistakes and are figuring it out. Now, I'm still cautious because I want to see how they write Season 3's antagonists and how they include future banner characters. I hope Zenless keeps proving me wrong because while critique is fun once in a while, I would prefer talking about a game I'm excited about. If you like this video, go watch my other gacha videos. I'll see you guys next time. It might be a week, it might be a year.